All right. So this is a question that I get all the time as a journalist. Is print news dead? And to that I answer, no, it's not dead, it's just transformed. Though you don't see people sitting around reading a newspaper anymore, you still see people holding the news. It's just transformed to a cell phone. In fact, there are 3.2 billion people who own a smartphone worldwide, according to Statista. That's 3.2 billion people just carrying around a giant print newspaper, so to speak. According to Edward Eggleston, an American author in the late 1800s, journalism is just organized gossip. Now, since we all have a cell phone, we have a smartphone, most of us, and we all have participated in some form of gossip, that means we're all journalists in a way, and especially according to Eggleston. The only problem is that we're not so refined in our journalism. If you think about Instagram posts or tweets, they're really not that great. And think about Donald Trump's tweets. This one in particular is my favorite. He says, "Sorry losers and haters, but my IQ is one of the highest and you all know it. Please don't feel so stupid or insecure. It's not your fault." So we could attack this grammatically, we could attack it for context. Instead, I'm going to share with you guys what I do as a journalist and how I try to be more refined than Donald Trump, so to speak. So there are 4 key things to journalism. Number 1 is observation, and then there's research, there is taking photos, and then there's actually the writing portion of it. So the first is observation. Usually as a journalist, if I'm going into an event, I will sit down for a few minutes and take a look at my surroundings. If people are talking, if what they're talking about, the architecture of the building that I'm in, where people are seated, different things like that. I make mental notes of the different things that I'm viewing or observing. So I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to do the same and make a mental list of the different things you can see right where you are. I'm giving you 30 seconds to make this mental list, and then we'll talk about it after that. Ready, go. All right, time's up. How did that go? Good. Awesome. Who's willing to share some things that they observed?
So I noticed there's a little temple statue over there. Yeah, model, I guess. And then each of the lights in these rooms are on except the back room. You have 2 types of cereal on top of your fridge. You have a T-Rex cookie jar, and you have a sign that says "No complaining."
Perfect. That was a lot of things that you were able to observe in that time. And although it might have been awkward in this situation, just, chilling in our living room, think about it when you're surrounded by people, when you're going about your daily business. A lot of the things you noticed here, when I put that time aside for you, you probably wouldn't have noticed on a daily basis or in your daily routines. So it's kind of the point of observation. It takes a little bit of effort beyond what you're normally used to, and sometimes it is a little awkward because you kind of just have to sit there or stand there and look around to notice those details. But it's very important for journalism to notice those details. So next is research. This is something that journalists especially have to be careful of, is because we get accused of fake news a lot. That happens when you don't fact check. So I'm extending that invitation to you guys to fact check. Make sure that before you're writing something, you know that it's true. Don't go spreading around rumors or things that you think are true. Make sure that they actually are, and you can avoid the fake news bit. Next is capturing an image, taking a picture. That is very important in journalism as well, especially since we're such a visual world nowadays. We are constantly looking for images, constantly looking for videos and audio. If we don't see that, then oftentimes we skip it or scroll through it. We're not too keen on the actual words part of journalism anymore. And this is also easy, especially since we all have smartphones. The best advice that I have ever been given as a journalist, or part of the best advice, is that the best camera that you have is the one that's on you, and that's your cell phone most often. So the next 4 slides are 4 different pictures from 2 different stories that I've done, just to give you a taste of what you can do with journalism and photographs. So this image is of a professor at BYU Idaho who does beekeeping when he's at home. And for this image, all I did was tell him to keep doing what he was doing, take a few steps back, and just take his image right there. Nothing special. He wasn't posing for this. He was just looking at his bees, and I was able to capture that. This next one, I got a little bit closer. Again, I didn't ask him to change what he was doing. I was just following him around. And you can see I was able to capture all of the bees in here and just the natural environment that he was in. All I did really for this was crouch down a little bit and take the image. This next one is from ROTC. They went to Spokane, Washington. I was able to accompany them during the Ranger Challenge. This is their team captain, Haran is what they call her, and she was watching her team compete. She wasn't competing herself, but they were throwing dummy grenades, and they had to get it in a very tight target. So you can see kind of the emotion in her face. She's a little nervous, a little cold, and she's hoping that her team's going to make it. All I did was crouch down and take that image. I was just there. I was able to observe. This is also where you can capture your observations as in photography. Also, you'll see that, have any of you heard of the rule of thirds? Okay, so you'll notice right here, that hits on the line, this hits on the line, and this hits on the line for the rule of thirds. So that's another thing to keep in mind if you want to go the extra mile with your photography. But really, it's just as easy as crouching down or just standing there and taking a step back. The last image I want to show you guys is, this one. But I like it because it's a detail shot. This wasn't planned. They just did it while they were waiting for their next competition. They just put their weapons together, and I took a picture of it. So again, it goes back to capturing your observations. If I wasn't paying attention and just, going about my business, I might not have noticed this. But I took the time to observe. I took the time to do the research. I asked what they were doing and how long it was going to be up there, so I could take a picture. And I put it all together. Moving on, the last step, the last thing I wanted to mention about journalism is writing. Now, you guys don't have to worry about doing an 800-word editorial, but oftentimes you guys will be writing 100 words or less, either on an Instagram post, on a Twitter, on your Facebook, just in an email. We all have to write emails. So this puts in together your observation, your research, a lot of times your photographs. I take pictures of notes people leave me all the time, so I don't have to keep the papers. That can go into your writing, keeping it visual as well. So all the skills can go into this, and what I want to leave you with is adding more good to the world than bad. So through all these steps, you can be a more refined journalist, because we can all be journalists with our phones and with observation and research and taking pictures and writing. Let's keep print news alive and thriving. Thank you.